It was the truth.
It's the truth. Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's absolutely no way that the behavior in this current administration would have been accepted by the first Black family in the White House.
Right.
So fortunately, it wasn't difficult to do because we are those people. It wasn't difficult to follow rules. It wasn't difficult to have high standards. It wasn't very difficult because in order to get where we are, as you've seen and your mother, you don't get here without being damn near perfect.
Yeah.
We don't get to fail 2, 3, 5, 7 times. We don't get to file bankruptcy over and over again and still be considered a successful business person.
Right.
You know,
right.
We don't get to not be at the top of the class. You know, every I has to be dotted, every T has to be crossed. And a feeling it was.
I hope she doesn't run again. I don't think she should run again.
Why is that?
She should take a break.
Yeah, I think there's there. You know, she's a lovely human being. I think there are great ways she can serve. I don't think that the United States is going to elect a woman in my lifetime.
Wow,
it's really a shame.
Yeah, wow. I don't believe. And also, I think that in order for her to have won last time, and this isn't something I wouldn't have said to her personally, is she needed to take a giant step away from Joe Biden's Middle East policy. His policies in vis-a-vis Israel and Gaza were an abomination, and they were a stain on his presidency. And her association with that is still something that causes her to get protests everywhere she goes. She has to take a giant step away from it. If she ran again, she would have to repudiate Biden on Israel, Gaza. That's the only way she could do it. And she's super loyal. I don't know if she would do that.
What about Kamala Harris? Do you think she has an opportunity?
So if anything, Black women, don't y'all do don't y'all march nowhere. If you're gonna march anywhere, you march to the fridge, you march to the bed, take your rest. Black women deserve more credit for not burning this mother down. Okay, that y'all have been too nice and demure, and the fact that y'all have not flipped this over, I'm glad that y'all haven't, because I know I'm gonna be in the number of the fire. Okay. So if anything, Black women, don't y'all march nowhere. If you're gonna march anywhere, you march to the fridge, you march to the bed.
Okay, I'm ready to march right on in here to Black Press USA's morning show. We've been gone for a few days, but we're back. And of course, riding shotgun is my good friend, Jill Munroe. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Happy Friday to you. Congratulations on the successful event.
Oh, yeah, it was so much fun, Jill. And right where, we're talking, you heard Bernard talk about, Black women. And it was a night, and it was a time to really, be proud to be a Black woman, especially when we had Georgia Ford there at our event, as well as Congress member LaMonica McIver. Both women are facing federal charges for doing and stirring up good trouble, like John Lewis says. So, our hearts are with them. And it was a night to let them know that we see them, that we support them, and that we're ready to put pen to paper for them.
I love that. I love that. That's what it's about, showing up for those that pave the way and giving them their flowers while they're here to receive them. So that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. And of course, can't forget about Representative Al Green, who is always speaking truth to power sometimes when, we need to see it. We need to see more lawmakers, not just doing a soundbite, but when they're really put in the space to stand up to that Trump administration, he always stands up and is there for the task, whether it's filing articles of impeachment, whether it's him, putting up a sign that said Black people are not apes. I wish it would have been more people at that State of the Union this year with signs saying, convict the pedophile, hold the president accountable. I would have liked to see a lot more signs like that, but thank God that we have them. So it was a night to really honor them. And then also this week, we're still celebrating this. Tomorrow will be the last day, a week full of honoring and remembering for 199 years, the Black press, which you and I are a part of, has been standing 10 toes down, being the diary of this country's conscience. as it relates to the Black experience?
I mean, now more than ever, Black press is needed. The documenting, as you mentioned, because history is being rewritten right in our face. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, so Orangey says, "Oh, y'all are back. Seems like y'all have been on vacation." No, we have not been on vacation. We have been in Washington, D.C., celebrating the Black press and watching Howard University archive the Black press's history. And so I shared at the event that as I got to, and when I got to DC and got in the car, there were all of these flags that said 250 America, which of course the Trump administration has decided to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And so I thought about it and I was like, but I was there to celebrate 199 years of the Black press. And so I chose to lean in on that. And no matter how much you record, there's a picture of Dr. Chavis and Rep. Al Green, Georgia Ford, and our social media correspondent, Randy, totally Randy, and LaMonica McIver, the congresswoman, she hadn't arrived yet. But, you know, as I saw those flags, I was like, okay, but I'm here for 199 years. And no matter how they try to do it, you cannot erase us from the conversation. And it is so important right now, Jill, for us as they begin to ramp up, because by the time July 4th comes, they are really going to be showing off about this Declaration of Independence in 250 years. And it's going to be us, up to the Black press, to tell the whole story. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But since we're talking about today is the first day of spring.
I love it. I'm so happy. I was excited when the time changed a couple weeks back. Don't miss that hour of sleep, but you know, like it getting light earlier and staying light later.
It's a different type of feel, you know, you could feel it. You could feel the new season. But so a lot of people are, if they already haven't done it, they're going to be doing their spring cleaning tomorrow. So our morning poll, the morning poll is, we're cleaning the house tomorrow morning with the 90s R&B anthem. Is the only way to kick off, you know, just everything. So what are you playing when you're cleaning up on a Sunday morning? Is it the Frankie Beverly vibes, Before I Let Go? How about the BBD vibes, Poison, Mary J. Blige, Real Love? Or how about Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It? Or do you go further back? Let us know in the chat which one you're picking. Frankie Beverly and Mays, Belle Biv DeVoe, Mary J. Blige, Montel Jordan, or you might all go all the way back to Atlantic Star. I don't know. But how about you, Jill? What you listening to?
You know, we mix it up, but from this list, I'm gonna go Mary J. Blige.
You're gonna go Mary J. Blige. And, you know, I think I'm gonna go BBD.
BBD is never a bad choice.
Yeah, New Edition.
Bad choice.
Because New Edition is kicking butt, and they're showing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that the people are for New Edition.
And now, we are the people.
We are the people. We are the people. I mean, have you seen how they have called the Candy Girls and we have responded?
Any for lifers have shown up. They got New Edition to #1 over Phil Collins, Shakira, Wu-Tang Clan, Mariah, Sade, like the list goes
Luther Vandross. Now, I definitely want him, Luther Vandross. Don't knock him off the top 7.
Me too. But
keep him up there.
Pink, you know, NXS, like all good. It's a good group this year, but New Edition needs to be in there.
New Edition. Well, they proved to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that their fan base is telling the judges that New Edition needs to be in there. I don't care who your other 6 or 7 are, but New Edition, the people have spoken. The people have spoken. I just love it. So, I mean, I hope this means they're going to bring the tour back around the country, because I definitely can have another dose of that tour that they're going around on. Okay. But we have a special guest this morning. We're going to be talking about the WNBA. It's March Madness. And so we're going to get into that. But first, one of the stories that started trending when I was on my way to the airport back home was the Cesar Chavez story. Good God Almighty. So Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has signed a proclamation to rename the last Monday in March, which is coming up, Farm Workers Day. And of course, this comes after 96-year-old farm worker and civil rights leader Dolores Huerta revealed that in the 60s, she experienced 2 separate sexual encounters with Cesar Chavez. She said the first time she was manipulated and pressured, and the second time she was forced. Now, both ended in pregnancies, which she says she concealed by wearing baggy clothes and ponchos. But I also want to point out, meanwhile, a statue of an enslaver is expected to be on display in D.C. for America's 250th birthday. Now, a bronze statue of Caesar Rodney, a Delaware founding father and enslaver, who signed the Declaration of Independence, will be temporarily displayed in Washington, D.C.'s Freedom Plaza for up to 6 months during America's 250th birthday celebration. And so I'm mixing those two, Jill, because I mean, how are, people are flawed, right? People are flawed. So is this how we're going to respond to all of these people who we have named streets after, who we have put statues up? When we find out that they are flawed, do we just erase them from history?
I think that is unrealistic, though. That has been the course of action over the past couple of years. I mean, she's changing that day, but we still have Cesar Chavez Avenue, the Cesar Chavez Bridge here in Los Angeles. So obviously, what he's being accused of is heinous. But it's a conversation that we often have to face. Can a movement stay sacred when one of its most famous faces falls off? Not just falls off, but we uncover things in his past that nobody would want to hear about someone that they respect or that has done the type of work that he did. So these are hard conversations that we're going to have to face with ourselves, because there was no social media before and no way for these stories to be brought forth to the public. And now they are.
Right. And so we have, it's just a mind-blowing story. I mean, when you take a deep dive as to what happens, it makes me want to go back and watch the Cesar Chavez story that was done in 2014 to just see the dynamics of this situation. But apparently, these 2 children didn't find out about this situation until a few weeks ago. But, there's talks about that she's been in their lives, but they didn't know that was their mother. I just have so many questions about this story. Did it happen only 2 times, or did it happen more than 2 times? But there were 2 times that, it's just so much. I trust women. I think that is a horrible burden to bear. But she also said last night that she did it for the cause. She did it for the movement. Yeah, she kept it quiet for the movement. And so we have tons of elected officials out here that are standing up for her. Supervisor Holly Mitchell, State Representative Isaac Bryan. You saw the mayor sign the proclamation to change it to Farm Workers Day. But I mean, what do you do with his legacy? I mean, does this erase everything that he contributed to the movement of farm workers? Do you just disregard it all?
I think you can. And as I said, as time has moved on, technology, we have more ways to check into stories, to hear people's stories. We discover that these people are flawed in some ways, in ideas and things that we, find hurtful. But the flip side of that is the legacy has already been laid out as far as the help and the good. So I'm not sure how you separate the man from the mission. I believe you can honor farm workers without protecting a false saint. But the fact still remains that he was in the forefront of this movement. I think we have to really get into the idea that people are flawed and that in the past, people self-sacrificed in order for the greater good. That's what it was about, the community. And I'm not saying that that is necessarily always the right thing, but that idea and concept kept us in lockstep in some ways for good, but individuals were hurt by it.
And the Chicana, I think it's the Chicana Post on Instagram. They were putting out a lot, and I saw our Latino brothers and sisters responding that we're just trying to erase immediately Cesar Chavez, but you have a 30+ convicted felon in the White House, that has sexually assaulted and is convicted for it. And then you have these Epstein files, and he can be president, but we just are like, no, this is unacceptable. Just throw him to hell. But we still have a convicted felon president and an alleged young rapist. Okay, the same as Cesar Chavez. They're in the Epstein files.
I think that Gen Z is very different. They grew up seeing cancel culture, seeing that their voice matters and seeing the direct effect of that almost immediately. So I think that is the mindset. That is how we think about solving issues as it is that, evolve, but it's unrealistic. There has to be conversation. There has to be a separation of this man. And I'm not saying to forgive him, but he is a part of this movement. You can't take out what he contributed and discuss the whole thing, but you can discuss the flaws that he has as a man, right? Include that in the story.
Yeah, I think you can do both at the same time. And we know that with this current president, Donald Trump, the portrait gallery in Washington, D.C. houses the pictures of all of the presidents. And so along with his portrait, it had said that he's a convicted felon. He changed it and took the sign down. So he's not going to even let you record the truth about him. Okay. So, I hear what you're saying, but it's going to be applied to everybody but him. He told them to replace it. Take that off of there.
Here's the flip side of that though. What good has Donald Trump brought to anyone? So,
he has brought a lot of good to his wealthy buddies. He's brought a lot of good to his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who was basically over there taking over the Gaza Strip for high-tech real estate. He is helping a lot of people. It's just not the common people and the people who voted for him. The majority of the people who voted for him are not benefiting from him. Only his 1% rich friends.
I want to see people not forget that. I don't want them to forget how they feel every time they go to the gas pump right now, when they go to the grocery store. I don't want them to forget that feeling because
we're feeling
there's no honor in that.
No. And speaking of that, the U.S. Postmaster David Steiner is warning Congress that the U.S. Postal Service could run out of money as early as October and may be unable to pay its workers and vendors by February 2027 unless it lifts the borrowing limits and reform outdated regulations. And so we see another agency that American people depend on. There are a lot of people, you would be surprised how many people still get checks in the mail. They don't have, they direct deposit, and so especially people with their Social Security checks and things like that, there's a lot of people that this could really impact and hurt.
I mean, you just think about the fact that there's a lot of medicine that comes through the mail, right? For people. Also, I mean, just paperwork. We've seen this repeatedly as far as the post office failing, but it is an infrastructure thing. It needs to be revised. And I also think it's also purposely done because who does it impact the most? Those that are in lower economic areas, Black and brown people that are more likely to rely on this service than, as you mentioned, his 1% friends and those that are wealthier.
Right. Orange G mentions that the postmaster is mega. He is trying to privatize the U.S. Post Office. I mean, yeah, he is, but it is ultimately Congress who is holding back this funding that is allowing him to be able to privatize it, which is why the midterms are so important. I was able to meet with the DCCC, who is the home of the DNC's activation for Congress. So House and Senate, you know, they support the candidates. And so just talking to them about, you know, how are you engaging the Black community, the Black voters? Are you waiting until the summertime because the call to action is now? So, you know, it was good to have those conversations to find out, you know, we're talking about the post office. And because Republicans are in office, you know, the way we know mail could be changed.
I mean, listen, the first people that are going to feel it are seniors, rural communities, and small businesses.
That's right.
And those are the people that don't necessarily have the voice to speak up, to have the funds to deal with a whole private industry of mail, basic services. So we really have to pay attention. And like you said, make sure that we show up for the polls for the midterms, because this is not sustainable the way that we're going.
It is not sustainable. It's very top heavy. And another story that is trending, TSA officials are warning that the government shutdown may force U.S. airport closures as staffing shortages reach critical levels. Donald Trump has spoke about this, which is it's his fault. When I was going through from DC to LA, not too many problems, but you see different pockets from all across the country where, you know, TSA workers, they are now in their first full paycheck to where they have not received it. You've seen stories about some TSA workers sleeping in their cars because they can't afford gas. This is utterly ridiculous, and Congress should be ashamed of themselves, because even though, you know, they want to hold out on this bill, they still could pass certain portions of the bill to make sure that TSA workers are funded. And so Democrats are holding the line because they say, you know, because we see with our own eyes that Homeland Security is abusing their powers. Okay, that's the only thing that they're holding up. Just like Republicans can sign the dotted line and fund the budget for these TSA workers to be paid. I mean, this is utterly ridiculous. Number one, most importantly, because they deserve to be paid. But number two, the threat that it sends to just our whole infrastructure when it relates to airports and travels. I mean, this is utterly ridiculous.
To your point, it's not just about travel and convenience. Public safety is at risk, and TSA worker burnout. Not knowing when your check is going to come. Probably other people like bump this, I'm not showing up. So they're going to be overworked and understaffed. It's really a dangerous situation, as you mentioned, especially considering the other activities and ways that this administration is moving as far as what is happening, we know, in the Middle East and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, travel is scary. It's bananas. And it's just something that we need to consider, even when we're looking at the midterms and how we are approaching these candidates forums. When you have the opportunity to go to a candidates forum and ask the candidate, you know, these are real questions that need to be asked. Like, how do you plan on handling this? What are your thoughts on how the government currently is handling, this whole TSA situation, this Homeland Security. If you were in a committee hearing and you had the opportunity to ask such and such this or that, how would you handle it? This is a moment for this whole concept of we the people when we look at the midterms. And so we the people really need to be paying attention and decide how we want this country to move forward when we start participating in these primaries and when we look at the general election in November. All of these critical issues are at stake.
These are
So another trending story right now is the WNBA. After 17 months of negotiating, the WNBA and the WNBA Players Association have reached a deal. And I know a lot of us are happy about that. So joining us now to discuss the WNBA and March Madness is a powerhouse in media, a former collegiate athlete who has transitioned from the court to the anchor desk with an unapologetic impact. She has spent her career telling the truth beautifully while navigating the front lines of sports, culture, and social justice. Please welcome to Black Press Morning Show, SHARI NYCOLE. Good morning.
Good morning. What an intro. I should have brought my Kleenex. Thank you.
No, you deserve all the flowers, Your commentary is unmatched, and your expertise is what we want this morning. So let's just get to it. The WNBA $1 million era. So we just saw a verbal agreement reached with the Supermax jumping to $1.4 million and players' salaries finally tied to league revenue. So how much of this is a historic shift due to the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese effect versus the decades of groundwork laid by the veterans?
I think that's an interesting question. I think it's a cross between the two. So obviously over the last couple of years, what has happened with the influx of popularity with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has absolutely had an impact. But we can't talk about them without talking about Asia Wilson as well. And other players in the league that have helped to carry the league prior to their arrival and who are also carrying the league while they're in the league as well. And then as we look at, the league going into 30 years, we have to recognize the efforts of the Cheryl Swoops and the Cynthia Coopers and the Lisa Leslies and the Maya Moore. So I think it's a meshing of the two worlds and the bridging of history with the current that has really brought us to this point. So I have to acknowledge every single player that took a low salary, that played in the season, gave it their all, and then went overseas and continued to beat their body up and came back for the next season to do it again. Every player that came and played, in front of a low fan base, perhaps, that kept coming back year after year. So this is a collective effort. And I think as I've been exploring the conversations, especially that have been happening with Union President, WNBPA Union President, Nneka Ogwumike, that's really evident as well.
Do you think it's a good deal?
I think it's a great deal. I mean, I was so relieved when it happened. I think anybody that's a WNBA fan, we were all kind of on edge because we wanted to have a season this year and we wanted to have a full season. So I think it's a great deal. Stephen A. Smith mentioned yesterday, it's a great deal. They didn't get necessarily what they deserve because we all, most of us think, hey, they deserve more. They've paid their dues. And so that can be argued. But overall, I think we're all aligned that this is a great deal. And this will keep a lot of these ladies here in the United States and playing the game they love versus, again, as I mentioned, having to go back and forth, in and out of the country to make a life for themselves. So it's great. I think we're going to see, happier players because more money's coming in. So I think even from a competitive standpoint, it's going to be even more exciting. So I think it's a great deal. And it's not just about the money. It's about the housing opportunity as well. And some of the other things in the deal that we don't even know that I think we're going to find out in the coming days or even weeks that also make this a really, really great deal and a great opportunity for not only the players currently, but the ones coming behind them.
So, SHARI, I am Jill. You mentioned this new era, so to speak. We talked about whether Caitlin and why am I blanking? Angel set it off, but I want to talk about the college game for a second. With NIL, it's making college stars and they're getting real money before they even step to the W. And we know for women's basketball, the college game has been the premier. How is the W now going to sell itself to make sure it takes its place kind of where it should be, a little ahead of the college game? No disrespect to the guy.
Look, I think that's a great question. And I think this deal helps to do that. I mean, the argument has always been, yeah, why not stay in school? You make more money in college anyway. Well, that can be argued, not necessarily for the premier players that we see, like a Flajay Johnson, who obviously is a multimillionaire in her own right at LSU, but maybe a player that's kind of a little bit lower than her tier, that's making a reasonable amount at NIL, but may say, hey, I'll make more in the WNBA. That's an actual real conversation now. So maybe they don't stay till their senior year. They leave after their junior year. So I think this agreement helps to solve, air quotes, that problem. But I'm also a proponent of, look, if you can make the money, position yourself for a higher draft pick, perhaps, and get your education paid for, why not stay? Many would argue the WNBA is going to be there. But I think we will see more players at kind of a mid-premier level leave after their junior year. And, because the WNBA just looks more attractive from a financial standpoint. But I love that question because I think we'll find those answers as we move through.
So Donald Trump has called for an executive order to save college sports.
Why would you do that to me? Stick to him.
I have to. So look, he's claiming it's destroying the education mission as someone who played at a high major level. Do you see NIL as a threat to the spirit of the game, or is that just a convenient narrative to keep athletes from owning their market value?
I think it's the latter. I will say I'm a little envious, I have to admit, of all these athletes getting paid now. Because, man, if I could have gotten paid back in the day, we might not even be on this interview. But, I think this administration often looks for excuses, pulling straws from great things and making them not so great things. I think NIL is great. I think collective is great. I do think there needs to be some bounds around that. I think we're a little bit out of control right now, which impacts recruiting, which impacts players and coaches. I should say coaches being able to really mentor these players, because at any point they can up and leave, right? You have one season with them and then they can move on. And I've talked to some coaches on the men's and women's side and even the high school side, and they talk about this. They want to not just coach these kids, they want to mentor them. They want to help usher them into adulthood. And they don't always get that chance. If kid's not happy, if the parent's not happy, if the agent's not happy, they're probably going to move on. So that's the part about it that I think needs to be revamped a little bit. I've said this for the last couple of years. I think a player should be able to transfer, but I think there should be a cap on that. And NIL impacts that, collective impacts that. So if a kid's not happy, okay, you can transfer once without penalty. Second time, there needs to be a penalty. That's just me. I think that will kind of help with that. But I don't think NIL is ruining the spirit of sports. I think what could possibly ruin the spirit of sports is the mindset that many of these young athletes are being reared in prior to them getting to the collegiate game. And that deals with more how they're being raised and coached at that level than it has to do with NIL. And that's the elephant in the room that we're not addressing.
So along those lines, how much do you think social media has to do with that? Because a lot of these players, men and women, are stars before they even get to college, as you mentioned. And how is that impacting the effort and play that we see once they make it to, and I'm talking on the women's side for this, to the pro level? Do we think that they are suffering a little bit because they're a star before they've sort of put in those paces?
Interesting. When I played, we had newspapers. I wasn't aware of everything that was going on around the country and the world with other players. And so I would actually turn this conversation to mental health, really. I think the mental health of these young athletes, these young women, is being impacted more so than anything else. And they're putting unnecessary pressure on themselves because they're comparing their game and themselves to other players that they're seeing coming up. So I think that is the bigger issue when it comes to social media, and we can't stop it. It's free information. It's going to be in our face all day long. So I think it's the access to all of that information that is hindering the mindset, the mental health of these young athletes. I know some amateur athletes as well, and it's a real struggle for them. So I think that's the bigger thing. And then when you go into competition, too much pressure or expectations are mismanaged. So that's when, social media and NIL culture and those type of things kind of become problematic, because now you have young athletes who don't understand process necessarily, and they think that they're supposed to get because of. And I think social media has really ushered in that mentality. And that, I think, is the more dangerous piece when it comes to that.
So we're seeing stars like Juju Watkins, who I was excited to see videos of her back on the court shooting some hoops. Flau'jae Johnson become household names before they even turn 21. Do you think the WNBA's new CBA was timed specifically to ensure these generational brands don't lose money by leaving college early?
I think so. I think that's. I absolutely think that's taken into account. You have to. Like we talked about earlier, I mean, these young ladies, if they didn't play anymore, right, they would be fine. So, you know, even coming into the league, even with the CBA, essentially, they're probably already going to be making way more than they would make in the WNBA. So what makes it attractive is they love the game of basketball. But at the same time, the effort in this CBA agreement, in turning it on its head in the way that Nneka Ogwumike and others have been able to do, I think that's the most important thing. It shows, hey, we're invested in you. We care. It's not just about come play at our league. It's like, hey, we have these things available. We have real money here. We have real housing. We have opportunities for you to play the game you love and not feel like a stepchild. And I think that's the bigger piece here, because let's be honest, the WNBA, there were a lot of facets to it from a CBA standpoint that were not attractive. I don't think Flau'jae, let's say the CBA agreement was signed. Like say it was in place last year, right? When the draft happened. Who knows? Flau'jae may have entered the draft. She stayed, you know, she's finishing out her senior year. Maybe if the league looked more attractive to her, or more attractive, to her, she would have moved on. If I'm Juju now, maybe I don't stay my senior year. Maybe I go ahead and play in the league, because with a CBA like this, it also opens up the floodgates for more opportunities for these players to make money on the branded content side, connecting with brands and commercial opportunities, because now they're like, okay, they're really serious. Okay, you know, there's rev share involved, so everybody's going to be revving up to get as much from the pot as they possibly can. So that would be my answer to that.
As they should.
As they should. I'm talking bring all that energy, because these ladies, they deserve it. They work so hard. And if we keep forgetting, like they started a whole other league, in part because there wasn't financial and other means of support because the CBA was so weak. So Unrivaled came in, and we talk about Angel Reese, and we talk about Caitlin Clark and Asia Wilson and other players that have really sewn into this league in recent years. We also have to mention how Unrivaled really pushed the needle as well. You had players in Unrivaled making more money than they were making in the WNBA. And the Unrivaled's only 2 years old. So the argument about, new leagues don't make money, out the window. So you're looking at a league now going into 30 years that can't make the excuse, we don't have it. No, yes, you do. We're doing it over here just fine. Same players. Right. So we have to shout out everybody that really invested in Unrivaled, the brands and the advertisers and the players that said, okay, we're going to give it a shot, because I do think those efforts absolutely helped to push this over the line.
Well, that was going to be my question, how much Unrivaled had impacted this agreement with the WNBA and what's come together, especially the social things. Unrivaled was the first to have daycare facilities on par. Do you think that we'll see a bunch of upgrades as far as the facilities and what the women are offered, again, the extension of the game into other areas?
I absolutely think so. Again, there's a lot we don't know, but shout out to Unrivaled for raising the bar in that way. I definitely think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that in how these ladies travel. That was a big thing in recent years, them still flying commercial and coach. And just to me, that's just nuts. But I think we're going to see some changes there. I think we'll probably see changes in their per diem daily. I think we'll, with the housing and all of those things. So absolutely, I think that's going to be a point of emphasis with this agreement. At least I hope it will be. And I think for something like that, based on the CBA that I'm seeing, that's low hanging fruit. That should be an automatic based on some of the other things that we're already seeing are taking place. If it doesn't, we're going to have another conversation too. We're going to have
I already
bring it back, and I can complain. We can complain about it together.
Yeah, I can't wait for. I already hear a second conversation being had. But you played in the MAC, or is it MAC, and the Big Ten?
Yes.
With the new 20 million revenue sharing caps at Power 5 schools, are you worried that smaller conferences and HBCUs in particularly are essentially being turned into farm teams, where top talent is just waiting to be bought by a bigger program?
That's such a great question. I think the argument for that is valid, but I will say, and we're seeing this more on the men's side. We're seeing a little bit on the women's side. Shout out to Howard University. Their men and women's teams made the tournament this year. Southern on the women's side. Shout out to Southern University.
Yeah.
Based Dawn Staley in South Carolina. So we are seeing some HBCUs in particular kind of trickle in and say, hey, we're just as good. We deserve to be here. So I do think the argument is valid, but I want to emphasize the importance of mid-majors having strong showings in the tournament. And so even on the men's side, as we're looking at Miami, Ohio, oh my gosh, they beat SMU, right? Siena barely lost to Duke. You know, we're seeing mid-majors be able to come in and make an impact. St. Louis, their men just won. So I think part of the ways to avoid some of the things that you're saying, because we are at a tipping point with that and it's very possible, is for these mid-major teams to make a strong showing in the postseason when they get the opportunity. So with Miami, Ohio getting an at-large bid, that's huge. If they would have gotten blown out by SMU, the argument would be that's why we don't have at-large bids for mid-major teams. So you have these mid-majors showing improving on a regular basis when it comes to the tournament. Like this could be a turning point when we have that conversation. So HBCUs absolutely underfunded, but it's going to take players. I know Howard had one player that took a risk. He's one of the most highly recruited players in the country and went to Howard. It's going to take people like that. It's going to take players that say, hey, I want to put my activist hat on, my athlete and my activist hat, and invest back into my own. And that's going to take some sacrificial behavior. I think that's the only way to kind of turn the tides when it comes to HBCUs. I was recruited by a couple, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't even show them any attention because I knew from a facility standpoint, it wasn't going to be comparable to the Big Ten or even the MAC conference. It just wasn't going to be comparable. So I think, you know, it's on us too. How are we investing back into these programs, into these universities? And I think that the attention, especially that we're seeing, you know, Howard get, and we had a couple more schools historically we had 3 HBCU men's programs. That didn't happen. It's been like 30 years since we've had that happen in the tournament. They were all in the tournament at the same time. So that's good. That level of spotlight is great. But at the same time, we're going to have to invest. How are we supporting? How many conversations are we having about these particular things? I think is going to help to attract attention. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it takes, if you go to an HBCU program to play a sport, there's a part of you that says, I love my people. I'm going to invest back into my own community, and I'm going to be the best of Black excellence that I can be. And I'll fight through. If there's any level of lack, we'll work through it. That is the commitment that you're making. And my hope is that is not a continued commitment you have to make, but we'll see. And it's also very difficult with this current administration. And it's also very difficult for corporations to invest in HBCUs because of DEI, you know, rollbacks and things of that nature. So they're battling a lot of different things right now, but I'm encouraged because the talent is there. And I think we have to continue to impress upon people that students that go to HBCU schools, mid-majors, they're very talented, and some just as talented as we're seeing at our Power 4 schools. We got to scream that from the mountaintops. It's very, very important.
Just a couple more questions. As you know, we're celebrating Black Press Week, and we were just at Howard University this weekend for the enshrinement. So, in an era of AI-generated deepfakes and social media clout chasing,
my.
Okay. How critical is the role of Black journalists like yourself in ensuring the stories of Black athletes are told with integrity rather than just clicks?
You want to trigger me today, don't you? You want to trigger me today. I am so adamant about this because I tell people all the time, I'm not an influencer. I'm not a content creator. I'm a journalist and I'm a storyteller who has influence. There's a big difference. And I think we have blurred those lines so much. It is absolutely frustrating. When we think about DEI rollbacks that I just mentioned earlier, and also click culture, AI, social media. Yes, Black journalists are paying a heavy price. We are casualties of war in that respect. And people don't understand the value in our expertise until it's too late. You put somebody on a carpet or give somebody access to sideline reporting and they don't know how to interview. They don't, there's a level of research that isn't done because sometimes it's just about showing up and being cute and you got a lot of followers. So I definitely think in many respects, we're in a state of emergency. And then when we look at how many Black journalists are losing their jobs, how many Black publications are no longer, yeah, this is literally, we should all be marching essentially. So I think for people like myself, you know, even what I do with Essence Black Women in Sports, that's a great example of what I can do in the team that I'm with at Essence and the teammates that I have who are incredible, what we can do to continue to share those stories. And we can share them in ways that other people can't. As a Black woman who played at one of the highest levels you can play as an athlete, there's conversations that I can have with and about other athletes that most people can't have. So I'm leaning into that, and that's very important. But it's also about, let's not go cry in the corner when, from a corporate standpoint, we're not getting a certain amount of love, attention, or opportunity. Let's use social media for what it's worth as well on our side. I can go on my page and talk about whatever I want to talk about.
Right.
I can have this conversation with you ladies, and talk about whatever I need to talk about to get a point across, whether it be about sports, entertainment, or what have you. So as much as it hurts, as much as we can complain and fuss and cuss and all of those things, at the same time, we can use AI. Nobody said it was against the rules. And we can use it in a way that's intelligible and in a way that is responsible. So everything that we know, let's use the tools that are out there as well. You play the game. Don't sit out because you don't appreciate how it's been played. Play it too, and play it the right way. And so I'm excited about the fact that we have those opportunities, and we can still utilize our own platforms to put the word out. If we're quiet and complaining, nothing gets solved. We're in a very special time right now. Let's put our foot on the gas. Let's get out here and have some conversations, even if it's on our own platforms.
And that's exactly what we're doing today, because I didn't know anybody else who I could have this conversation with and give us all of the dotting the I's, the crossing the T's, and the real information. So really appreciate you being here this morning. Before we let you go, it is March Madness, first full weekend. I'm so excited. And I must tell you, it is because of Caitlin Clark and our girl Angel Reese is why I started leaning into college basketball. I had never watched March Madness until that happened, and now I'm all in. I'm getting me a Juju Watkins jersey. I live like 10 minutes from USC. I want to go to the game when she's back. I am 10 toes down, and I'm only really for the females. I'm loving it.
Yes, ma'am.
And so
I love it.
I am all in, I promise you. So with that being said, I want to start with the ladies first. Who are you looking to take it all, or at least make the final four? What do they call it? What are the boards called? What do they call them?
You got it. The final four, you got it.
The brackets. Who's going to the final four? Who's your picks?
Oh man. Okay, on the women's side, you got to throw UConn in there. They're just that good. You have to, I have to.
Oh, I love it. I love.
Yeah,
what's her name? Ozzy. I love her. Ozzy love her.
She's great. She's great. I don't recall who's on each side. So for those who are sitting with a bracket in front of your face, do not come for me. Okay, I'm just gonna give you my favorites because I don't know who's on either side. I love Texas. I think they have a great opportunity. The way that they played against South Carolina a week and a half ago was very special. I also think they're a little bit of a sleeper team when we talk about a team that can go all the way, but I think they have all the tools. I can see SC, if the brackets work out, in the final four. I don't see them winning a championship. I just think that there's a couple other teams that are a little bit stronger than them. And this is only because I'm a fan. And I love them. Coach Neil Ivey and Coach Carol Owens at Notre Dame. Carol Owens actually coached me at Northern Illinois University. So I have so much love for them and covered Neil for Essence. So Notre Dame, just go as far as possible. I want them to take the whole thing. That's on the love side. When Hannah Hidalgo and company play the best they can play, they can beat any team in the country. So we'll see what they do. But I'm pulling for them. But I'm excited. It's a great time. And I think the women's game in particular, we can't just assume that it's going to be UConn anymore. Like or South Carolina. There's so many other really great competitive teams. So that's what I'm pulling for. I don't have my bracket in front of me. Again, don't judge me. This is just my wish list. Okay.
What about the fellas? What about the men?
Oh, it's tough. It's so tough because man. Oh gosh. Arizona has an opportunity, I think. Based on the way that Duke played Siena yesterday, I'm not sure that's going to work out for them. I think they might get upset on their way. Men are so hard. Who else? Man, guys, this is hard.
I don't know, y'all. I can't even do the men. It's too much. It's too stressful. These teenagers are out here turning up. Like people are losing that have never lost before. UNC lost last night for VCU. What are you doing? Why? It's just I can't call it. I say overall, I think I know who I want to win. Arkansas. Darius Acuff Jr. is so special. And I think that when all the you mentioned earlier, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, Arkansas could win this whole thing. He's that good. It makes everybody else around him better. I was watching the game the other day, a couple days ago, that they had, and the announcer said he just doesn't have a bad game. Like if he's not scoring, he figures it out, and he's a distributor. He makes everybody around him better. So I think Arkansas, we can look up and they'll be your national champion. So I got them going all the way.
Oh, well, hey, there you have it. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We would love to have you back. Your expertise is just what we need in our sports division here at Black Press USA.
Thank you. I didn't bore you all. This was fun for me, but I can never gauge if it's fun for the people I'm talking to or the people that are watching. So I hope I didn't bore you guys.
No, the chat is chatting. Yeah, the chat is chatting and they're listening. Definitely want to have you back talk about the NBA. LeBron, there's just so much to talk about.
Don't you do that, because every time I talk about LeBron, the people go crazy. You pick that clip and then the people go down to my page and rip me to shreds. But
we're gonna save that. We're gonna save that for the playoffs. But thank you for joining us. Enjoy your March Madness. And we hope to have you back soon.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, ladies. Thank you all so much for the opportunity.
Yes, this was fun. Peace and love. All right, great conversation. I love the WNBA. And like I say, I'm all in to March Madness now because of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. So to have somebody like SHARI Nicole come on and enlighten us about what's happening, it was just the best for me. So love it.
I'm a hoops fan, so I always enjoy hearing those conversations and seeing who I should be on the lookout for at the next level. So
the next level. So let's talk a little bit about culture and entertainment. Now, you were at the Academy Awards this past weekend, and so you saw all of the moments that just made our hearts sing with joy. I'm talking about the Sinners win with Best Actor, Best Cinematography, you had Best Score, and of course, Ryan Coogler taking home Best Screenplay. But Black Twitter now is on a roll, and they're talking and debating about Ryan Coogler and queer stories. I found this very interesting. And so, chat, we want you to chime in and get your take. Some say he should be including queer stories in his storytelling, and some saying that's not his job. So I want to know from you, Jill, do you think that it is a filmmaker's responsibility to be an advocate for a certain group of people just because they want him to or her to?
Not necessarily. I feel that this is something that comes up often with us because we feel limited. And when we see someone excelling in greatness, we want to not hang on to their coattails, so to speak, but to be involved with their movement because we know they have a voice, they have a vision. And it's something that I feel happened at BET. You can't be a voice for everyone because then you end up being almost a voice for no one. Mm-hmm. And what I think is that Ryan is telling stories that center Black people in different aspects. If, he's not necessarily telling women's stories, right? He's telling stories inside the Black experience. So I think that there's another filmmaker out there that can speak to those stories and give that experience. It doesn't have to be one individual. I'm not looking to Ryan to tell an epic Black woman's story, not because I don't think that he can, but because there's someone else for that, right? Right. They want someone that is actually perhaps gay or trans or whatever to speak to that story and share that story because they might understand it on a different level. Again, people can pull off anything if they're empathetic, genius, talented, but I think that Ryan tells the stories that he wants to tell, and we shouldn't try and lock people up in those type of ways.
Right. And I don't think that you should make them be your advocate. If you feel so compelled to do so, then make the story. But maybe that's not what's on his heart. And that doesn't make him for or against any community. It just means that he's telling the stories that, why don't you go to ask Steven Spielberg?
Facts.
Why is Ryan Coogler now supposed to be the director of your movement? He didn't ask for that.
I think that's just a byproduct of us wanting to see our reflection in greatness as, it's presented. And we feel like it's just this one person and we hold tight to it and kind of want to do everything.
And then there's another story that's trending within the queer community about Jules, who is Tina Knowles' grandson, Solange's son. He agreed to make an appearance at a gay pride event. And now they're mad at him because he said he was going to bring 20 females with him. And then they're saying, well, we shouldn't allow straight people to be a part or host our club nights. I mean, what are your thoughts about that conversation?
I think for Jules, it's a sensitive thing because there have been online rumors questioning, trying to dive into or break down what his sexuality is. And so he's a fairly young man. I believe he's 21 years old. And these are conversations that have been surrounding him for many years. And so it might just be a reaction to that. But we need advocates. I think when we want to completely shut out people from spaces, there are moments when it just should be, whether that's women, gay Black people, Black lesbians, whatever the case may be, where it should be only them. But you need advocates. The world isn't niche based where you don't interact with anyone but your kind. So, and you need those voices because that's how understanding comes. So I think that is the wrong approach, not trying to tell anyone how to feel about their feelings, but I think that there are other things to be considered with Jules and what he's going through.
I think that's a great point because like you say, we need allies, even if it's a woman's event, to have a man come, like the Essence, the Women of Essence event. You saw Ryan Coogler, you saw Michael B. Jordan, you saw Black men giving Black women their flowers. Now, this was an all women's event, but like you say, you need the allies from outside of just your core group to validate. You don't need the validation, but it does help to have that support. And so I think that with that event, they were missing the mark. It was great that he wasn't intimidated or he didn't feel uncomfortable about coming into that space, whether he wanted to bring 20 girls or not. I mean, why are you talking about his sexuality when he's supporting yours?
I mean, and the flip side to that is if it's a gay club, it's not as if anyone there is going to be trying to talk to them. So in that manner, I think that just sometimes we can close ourselves in so much in trying to protect our interests, not recognizing that we still need people to reach across the aisle and to bring understanding to others, and so that we can go through this thing called life.
Right, 100%. So we were talking about the Oscars. Talk to us a little bit about your experience and what were some of your takeaways actually being in the building.
So everyone was right off the bat, I feel really excited for Sinners. There were, obviously you saw the energy of Tiana Taylor down front rooting for everybody and some of the results. Some people felt that she was a little over the top with her bear hug headlock of PTA, but Paul Thomas Allen, who was the director of One Battle After Another. But it was a festive celebration. I think it kind of shook out how a lot of people expected. I don't feel as though there were a lot of surprises in that regard, but a lot of energy, a lot of people very excited for Sinners as a movement for Michael B. Jordan and just seeing him there. So it was a great night. A lot of security outside the building. They, close off the perimeter of Hollywood near the theater. There were some protesters that showed up. So that caused some problems when you were trying to get to valet or, your car drop off, because they ended up shutting down the entrance way into the area. So things like that. But otherwise, it was an exciting night. Good energy.
And I read that Warner Brothers, which was the house of both movies, spent about $30 million on campaigning for them to win those awards. And they said the balance was split down the middle for One Battle After Another and Sinners. So that just goes to show you that, it takes money to win those awards. They're not just like given to them because the people just thought it was fabulous. There were people actually advocating and pushing for these individuals to win these movies and these awards. But one thing that our community, the Black community, had a problem and wanted to get your thoughts about this is that Malcolm Jamal Warner was left off the Oscar memorial. I have my thoughts. I want to get yours.
So, my first question, and I'm not even sure about this, because the Academy Awards are for film. My first question is, do they only feature film in memorandum? I don't know the answer to that. I'm unsure, but that was my first thought. Like, I believe he was honored at the Emmys last fall. He passed away last July. The BET Awards will obviously have their opportunity this June to pay tribute to him. Of course, I think it was an oversight, but I do have that one question in my mind because Malcolm was, for the most part, a TV star.
That's what I thought. I thought that he was a TV star. So I didn't, I understood if he was, why he was left off, because it's for motion pictures. But to your point, and I've never seen a TV star, if I recall, play in the memorial segment of the Academy Awards. So, to me, that was the reason why. But you brought up BET, and I think folks should be aware that this could be the last BET Awards. Just straight up as to what's happening over there with Warner Brothers, and you saw the sale and this and that. At the way things are going, this could be the last BET Awards. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't think it will be the last award, only because it is still a ratings juggernaut. We know live events across the board, whether you're talking now with Netflix and the things that they're doing, bring in a lot of viewers, must see, you got to see it live type of energy. There's very few events that still bring that type of energy. But I do think that you will see a lot of changes. I think that it might be more less flavorful, shall we say, moving forward. We could see things like that. We don't know. We could see something much like what we saw happen to the Hip Hop Awards and I guess the Soul Train Awards. It can move to strictly online. We don't know what the future holds as far as BET as a network overall. Right now, they're saying it's not going anywhere. But if you really think about it, as far as linear TV goes, how many people have BET in their day-to-day or even week-to-week destination for entertainment? Not BET Plus, which we know is now going to be a tab on Paramount Plus, but the actual linear network.
That's a great point. Speaking of BET and Tyler Perry's affiliation with BET, he's trending because he's allegedly dating Marlo Hampton. We saw them giving each other some smooches and were together at a party. What are your thoughts on that? Where'd that come from? Marlo Hampton from Housewives?
I think, what I saw in the comments, I'm going to tell you what I saw in the comments.
Okay.
The comments are saying that it's interesting timing because we have seen over the past year a lot of lawsuits thrown Tyler's way. And so the comments are suggesting maybe he's leaning into a more visible relationship because of these situations.
There's one picture too. There's the kiss. That's what I was talking about.
Is that AI or that's real? Because I thought it was AI. I'm not gonna lie.
They were sitting together. They were sitting close together in the party. So I mean, it look and everybody's like, Marlo don't mind being a beard for a check. I don't know. But look, there
they are right there.
Right there. And this is a good play for Marlo. She's missed this upcoming season, but damn sure bet this is a good entryway for her to go back to Housewives. They will be calling her for next season if this is a thing. Okay.
Well, we shall see. I'm curious.
Chat, let us know what you think about that. All right.
Marlo ain't she doing a little bit for coin. Don't hate on him.
Hey, no, get your money. It may not be for me, but if it's for you, it's for you.
But you know what? They do look like an attractive couple. I mean, they look good together.
Yeah.
And Marlo knows fashion. So if he needs a date to any awards or gala, Marlo's your girl, because she's going to show up.
She's going to step and look fantastic doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah. You see Rashawn Patterson's his
with the Phaedra. That is hilarious.
So we'll see what happens, but it's good for us to talk about. Just a couple more stories. Tiana Taylor has been named the chief curator for the Essence Fest 2026. Now, this is something new for them to have a top curator. And so we'll see what happens, because we know last year Essence Fest had a lot of trouble taking money from Target. The aunties versus the nieces. You had so much going on last year. So I guess this is their way of trying to make the situation better.
I mean, Tiana's really talented. Her creative design company group, they're called the Aunties, actually.
So I wasn't sure. Okay, they're the Aunties.
Yeah, they are called that. I think that she, might be able to stitch together the generations and give a fresh perspective and experience. She's really, really good at the creative directing thing. And I feel like right now, as you mentioned, coming off of what happened last summer, they needed a reconfiguring badly, because people were very upset with what they felt was an overlooked African-American rooted from here perspective in New Orleans.
Yeah, and this is definitely her year, because before she even gets to Essence Fest, she's on the committee for this year's Met Gala, where the theme is fashion is art. The co-chairs are Beyonce, Venus Williams, and Nicole Kidman. So it is Beyonce's return to the Met Gala. She hadn't been back since the $1 million elevator fight. Okay. And so people are really looking forward to this. And Tiana Taylor is on the committee for that. And I also saw yesterday from one of the Met Gala websites, it's not an official one, but they have all of the tea. They said that Nicki Minaj will not be invited to this year's Met Gala. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I could believe it, because I can't see the Carters and Nicki Minaj in the same room at the same time. I just don't see it. And then Beyonce's the chair. I just don't see it.
I don't see that either. And realistically, right now, I don't feel like Nicki's the fashion girl. I feel like as if the last time she came to the Met Gala, her showing was just regular. So they'll invite Cardi or Meg.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they were all there last year.
Yeah.
Cardi was there last year. Nicki was there, because Nicki is a muse. You know what I'm saying? And so, when she hits that carpet, she does have that look. But I just think with all of the tweeting and the clickbait and the attacking of the Carters, I just don't see it happening.
No,
I don't see it. I don't think Ann, what's her name? Ann Wintour. I don't think that is, her thing.
No.
Can't come. No. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure she'll be tweeting about that. Can't wait to see her thoughts about that, Nikki. And last but not least, hold up. Jay-Z, of course, is having a busy week. First, the Roots announced he is headlining their legendary picnic. Then Rock Nation announced 2 historic nights to celebrate the iconic albums Reasonable Doubt and Blueprint. So Jay-Z is taking over Yankee Stadium. Some saying this is just the beginning of what he has in store for the rest of the year. Are you excited about this, Jill?
I am. I hope that they have a live stream of it. Jay-Z in concert is always a good time. He has hits and hits and hits and hits and hits. I do think you hit on something, that there's something bigger happening, because before all of this was announced, there was a website that popped up, jz30.com, that people thought might be teasing something with the 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt. And so I think that, maybe it's new music. He hasn't dropped new music since 444. I think that was in 2017 or 2018. We also haven't seen him perform or tour since that same time frame. So we'll see what he has to offer. And it also comes at an interesting time in his career, because, a lot of people aren't here for Beyonce and Jay-Z, and they feel that Jay-Z's time is coming. So we'll see what the response is. But
yeah, I think this is great. I can't wait. I hope they live stream it too, but I also hope that he does something special, like a 10-city tour or something, to where he hits like the cities, Las Vegas, LA, Houston, or Texas. You got to do the Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis area. I hope that we get to see Jay-Z come out of retirement and show us that he still has it, that he still holds, like, I want to see it all. Chat, let us know what you think, if you want to see Jay-Z or not. Before we get out of here, we have to do our Black Fact. And because it's Women's Month, we thought we would focus on a pioneer. So on today, in the year of 1915, pioneering gospel singer and electric guitarist Sister Rosetta Tharpe was born, bringing rock and roll elements to gospel in the 1930s and 40s. She's known as the godmother of rock and roll, and she heavily influenced Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard. So today, for Women's History Month, we honor the godmother of rock and roll, Miss Rosetta Tharpe. Are you familiar with her?
Absolutely, I am. If you've ever seen videos of her playing, she is fantastic, her skill level. And just to see a Black woman, you think about the time period that she was doing that, fantastic history there.
And speaking of making more Black history, as Black women, we do it all the time. And you're doing something over there at KBLA Monday through Thursday. Tell us about it.
Monday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. I have a trending topic and headline show. It's just facts, culture, and context. We talk about what's in the headlines, but break it down and discuss with a little nuance. You are featured on the show every Tuesday, so I'm excited about that. You guys come check us out. It's live streamed on YouTube, KBLA Talk 1580, and yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, it's owned by Tavis Smiley, and he has a long list of Black commentators over there, bringing you news and information as we talk about celebrating Black Press Week and keeping it alive, from print to digital to technology. KBLA Talk 1580, Tavis Smiley is continuing the tradition of the Black press. So we're back, y'all. Black Press Week is officially over. We're waiting on to see if we can share some of the state of the Black press that Dr. Benjamin Chavis delivered at Howard University on Wednesday. We're going to try to get some of those clips to share with you about what the Black press and NNPA has for the future of us telling our stories and telling our truth. With that being said, we're back on Monday with more news, views, and opinions right here on the Black Press Morning Show. I'll talk to you guys then. Thanks, Jill.
You know it, didn't it? Oh, yes. How it rained. I said it rained, children.